Hello, everybody. My name is Brad Kramer with Provenio Consulting. Today, I want to share a tool that I have available on my website, www.provenioconsulting.com, and I make it available free to everybody. I just ask that if you're, another consulting company or something like that, that you don't take it and rebrand it as your own. So if you have a manufacturing company, shipping company, or something like that, where you have hazardous chemicals around and wanted a pre-plan worksheet, this is the perfect tool for you. So go ahead and download it for free off the website. And what it does is basically it's a spreadsheet where you enter in all the chemicals that you have, and it populates everything for you. So I'm going to share my screen and show you exactly what that looks like. All right, so we're pulling it up here. So if you look on here, we've got a spreadsheet. I've got a few other chemicals that have already been put in. For example, ammonia. So we would just type in ammonia right there. And most of these boxes are just drop down so that, so what at, let's say at room temperature, what state were they in? So I'd want to put, so example, ammonia is going to be a gas at room temperature. And we're going to put in the vapor pressure. So in this case, it's 8.5. And over here, again, we have a drop down of the different measurements for vapor pressure. So the SDS for ammonia has it in ATM, atmospheres. And so what it does here, the blue boxes, you don't have to modify anything in the blue boxes. Those are automatically populated. The reason being is, let's say, for example, vapor pressure. We have a few different measurements for vapor pressure, right? We have atmospheres, millimeters of mercury, PSI, kPa, kilopascal. So a few different measurements. And one of the challenges with chemicals is when you have different measurements, they're very different from each other. So it just confuses everybody when you have some chemicals are millimeters of mercury, some are atmospheres, some are PSI. Those numbers then don't mean anything to anybody, right? Because the average person does not know how they convert back and forth, right? So what it does is it populates everything into one consistent measurement, which I'll show you in a minute here. So then it automatically calculates that one into millimeters of mercury. So everything's going to be consistent with how your team sees it. Then we put in the IDLH. What's the IDLH? So for ammonia, it's 300. And again, we have a drop-down menu because there's a few different measurements for IDLH. So parts per million. And if it had been measured in millimeters per cubic meter, then we would put in the molecular weight because that's important for the conversion. If it's in say parts per million, we don't need that. And it's automatically, again, going to calculate it into parts per million. If it had a flash point, we'd put the flash point in there. And then we would put the flash point measurement, Celsius or Fahrenheit. Okay, and then LEL, then we put the percentage, what percent of the air is LEL. So in the case of anhydrous ammonia, 16%. And then we would enter the pH. Then if there's anything else that we wanted to know, for example, anhydrous ammonia is cryogenic. So everything over here in the blue boxes, again, self-populates based on what we enter. So let's look at, one that's not, doesn't have any toxic properties. So water, I added water. So liquid. So we selected liquid. Its vapor pressure is 17 and at millimeters of mercury. So it automatically just puts 17 millimeters of mercury because that measurements it's already in. Does not have an IDLH, so I leave that blank. It doesn't have a flash point. It does not have an LEL, and its pH is neutral, 7. Right? So I have everything pre-populated in here, and I open this sheet. I don't have to do anything here. Everything just crosses over from the prior sheet, right? So this is then what your team is going to see. And now we look at, for example, ammonia. It's a gas. Its vapor pressure is 6,460 millimeters of mercury, right? We don't have to do any conversion factories. Everything down here would be the same measurement. So we're not going back and forth from different types of measurements. Shows the IDLH, again, everything converted right over to parts per million. So it's very easy to see that way. And it shows you the LEL percentage, the pH. And then over here, again, this was from the pre-populated boxes in the prior worksheet. So it shows danger for the vapor pressure because, of course, that's a very high vapor pressure. And it shows the caution because it's a strong base. So it's yellow there. If it was if it is higher than 12, then that would be red. And then it's toxic because of the parts per million, how low the parts per million is for the IDLH. And then this box is just left blank, NA not applicable for flammable danger. And then what we put in there for other dangers crosses over. So if we had a bunch of different chemicals, we had them just listed on this sheet. So for easy access, so we can pull this up at a moment's notice. And we're not trying to go through a bunch of SDSs and stuff and trying to convert things, figure out what's millimeters of mercury and what's ATM and stuff like that. It makes it very easy for your team to look at what do we have for chemicals in our facility and which of those chemicals pose what kind of danger. So then we can classify stuff very easily. So here's a document that's very easy for you to use. I'm going to pull up my website to show you where it's at. So you go to www.provenioconsulting.com and scroll down. I'm probably going to move this to another page on my website just where it fits a little bit better. But here's where it is for right now, pre-plan worksheet. So you just click on that, and what it would do is just download it, and you can save it to your own drive and use it for your company's own purposes. So they're very easy for you to use. Very convenient, makes everything much quicker for figuring out, what's the danger levels and stuff like that. So, and it does have, for example, when you think about vapor pressure, I'm going to share my screen one more time and just share this with you again. So when we're talking about vapor pressure, for example, vapor pressure is how fast is something going to go from liquid to a gas? So how fast is it going to bring those dangers to you, right? So when we think about anhydrous ammonia, one of the reasons it's so dangerous is it has a very high vapor pressure. So if I have a little bit of liquid that escaped, it wants to become a vapor very quickly and fill a whole room or a whole building very quickly. And its dangers are that it's toxic. And if it gets a high enough concentration, it can be explosive. All right. So what that's doing is it's showing danger for vapor pressure. Now with water, I just have caution because it does have a vapor pressure, it will evaporate. But we know that looking at everything else with water, that there's no other dangers with it, right? If it evaporates into the air, it's not going to cause an explosive atmosphere. It's not toxic. It's not corrosive, anything like that. So we look at it, we know it can escape up into the air and evaporate, not real quickly, so it doesn't have the danger on it, but it does have caution. So we can pretty much disregard the vapor pressure of that one because we see it doesn't have any other properties that make it dangerous. That's what this spreadsheet just makes it very easy for you to track what you have for chemicals and what the different dangers are with them. All right, so hopefully this sheet, it's free for you to use, modify it as you see fit. There are a lot of different formulas on the second page, so I wouldn't get into going in and modifying them unless you really know spreadsheets and understand formulas, but I did all that hard work for you to make this available for companies to use to make your job more convenient and safe. I believe that safety documents and stuff like that should be free for everybody to use. So I don't charge for making this document available to people. I make it available to all my clients that want it. And like I said, it's on the website, free for you to use. So hopefully this helps you out, makes your job a little bit easier and safer. Have a safe day. Thank you very much.